In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I helped a busy doctor build a $120,000 a year online business. My name is Uriel Kim. I'm the CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, and for the past 20 years, I've been helping health experts and coaches build 7- and 8-figure businesses online. Today, Neil, who is the doctor I'll be speaking with, is in a bit of a conundrum. He's super busy in his practice, wants to build his business online, which he's starting to do, but he's got 2 funnels that he's trying to figure out. So over the next couple minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how we have this conversation, how I help him get clarity on what actually is going to work for his business, and which of those 2 funnels makes the most sense for him. So without any further ado, let's dive in, take some notes, and enjoy. What's up, Neil? I'm excited to dive in with you. We've got about 30 minutes. Start off by just kind of quickly introducing yourself, like who you are, what you do, and then obviously what's the number one thing you're hoping I can help you solve, and then we'll just dive right into that. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm basically a physician. I'm a kidney doctor as a specialty. Trained in India as well as came here for post-graduation. I trained at Harvard, worked at Johns Hopkins. Some of the best places. Along the way, I noticed my own health challenges for which I didn't find answers in my traditional medicine teaching, which helped me dive towards the science of microbiome, which is the microbes living within us, which have a huge impact on us. I connected that with a little bit of quantum physics science to find how exactly the body works. I helped my own health issues naturally, no pills, no supplements, and that's what I'm promoting and that's what I'm teaching, of how the science of healing works without pills, without supplements, how to heal naturally using this science. I have a course which I've created. I started with something called Mastermind, which was led by Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and then I did a little bit of coaching there. I learned the basics of creating a course, hooks, and all those things, terminologies. So I created a course last year, and the course by itself, as you probably also experienced, that it's not something that easily sells.
It's not flying off the shelves?
Yeah, I mean, it sells to people who are interested and they motivated, but most of them are not. They need things to be guided.
Sure.
So I expanded to starting a coaching program, which I just started in September. So I did my coaching program, which is a 2-week coaching program, 1 hour live coaching every day. That kicked off decent. I think I had 8 people and all of them stayed till the end and they liked it, and I have good testimonials and everything. But the marketing type, the technology type is where I struggle the most, how to reach the target audience. My next one I'm planning in January because I'm traveling for a month internationally.
So let's just pause there for 1 second. I just want to clarify a few things. You had the course. So both like the course and the coaching program were kind of built around the microbiome. Was that the premise in both?
Around the microbiome, but also about practical steps of how to use that science for healing naturally without supplements.
Was there any specific condition or problem either one of them was focused on solving?
It is only for chronic disease lasting beyond 3 months. So anything which is persistent, progressive, and it can be anything from digestive issues, it can be anything from low energy, fatigue, headaches, mental health issues, mood issues. There are different symptoms, presentations of an imbalanced microbiome, with microbiome being the common connector. So my main teaching is not to just focus on the symptom, fix your microbiome, let it fix itself.
So the target market in this case is kind of the solution. Like there's a lot of a lot of conditions, symptoms that can be solved by a similar approach, which is what you're talking about in the microbiome.
Right.
So with respect to pricing, what was the course priced at and what was the 2-week coaching program priced at?
Course was priced $497. It has over 35 videos, 3 modules, more than 35 videos. Dives into the science and research aspects of things and the practical aspects of things. Whereas the coaching program, I have priced at, I started at $997. Now it's at $1497 for the next cohort. But both of them, I always gave a discounted price to start off. So no one has really paid the full amount.
And then so the course was kind of like, it was, people would maybe find it, they'd buy it a few here and there. With the coaching program, how did you sell either one? Was it to existing, like, do you have an email list, social following? What was the marketing that led to people knowing about this to be able to buy it?
Mainly the course was purchased by people who know me. I did a little bit of Facebook ads at that time. and I ran a masterclass at that time. But otherwise, it was mainly through social media and my social media contacts.
And what size of a following are we talking about on social media right now, or roughly at that time?
That time I had about 200 to 300 people in my email list. And now with the coaching program, I did run more ads. And now I have about 650 on my email list.
So email 650 people. And then I'm just putting these different, and then you talked about social media. Is that Instagram predominantly or another platform?
I use Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of LinkedIn, and I have my YouTube channel. I have like 1 or 2 minute kind of podcast kind of videos.
And then how many, like between the platforms, how many total followers guesstimation would you have?
I wouldn't say like most of them are social media followers. I mean, I have maybe like 100 subscribers on YouTube and 300 or 400 on Facebook page or groups,
Okay.
and then some 400 on LinkedIn.
So we'll just call it 400 plus. So I just want to get a sense of like what the starting point for how people are getting to know about this. And then obviously you said you ran some Facebook ads to the course. So the Facebook ads, do you know roughly how much you spent, or do you remember how much you spent on those?
For the course, I don't, I think at least more than 1,000, I would say between 1,000 and 2,000 at least.
Yeah.
Probably more, I'm not sure. But for coaching program, I had a digital agency I worked with, which I spent about 1,000 to 2,000 for coaching. They did a better job than the course one.
Yeah.
The course one was a freelancer. The coaching, I had live webinar as my, either a live or an evergreen webinar as my call to action on the ad.
Yep.
So that's how I got a lot of the registrants, subscribers.
Okay, cool. So I'm just trying to get a lay of the land here. Let's kind of like start at the end in mind. Like what's the objective for this online business? Like if we think of just as a starting point monetarily, like where do you want this to be on a monthly basis? Like say like a year from now.
I think I would like to have more people to join the coaching program. I sell the course as a bonus with the coaching program because it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I would definitely like that.
Do you have a specific number?
Start off, at least to start off with more than 10,000 per month in revenue per coaching program, 2-week coaching program in revenue, because I just do once a month.
Yep.
That will be the minimum. I also do my other medical work, by the way, which is 1 week a month.
Sure. So you're kind of split between some stuff in person medically, and then obviously you're trying to build up this online business. And is the goal eventually to move completely virtual so you're not having to deal with the medical system and stuff? Okay. So with the 2-week coaching program, is there a reason that it was 2 weeks compared to longer, or what would walk me through like the 2-week time frame? So you said it was daily coaching for 2 weeks, right?
Yes. I noticed that anytime when it comes to health, there is always a withdrawal or a craving to go back to the old habits that comes the moment the motivation goes away. So that 2-week was mainly geared to sustained action, sustained practice. Weekly, what happens? You do it one day, oh, there's motivation, second, third day, it dies out. And then again, that next week, motivation comes. So for health, that's not how health works. For health, it has to overcome that craving, that withdrawal phase.
So 2 weeks, and then so if I come across the coaching program, what's the promise? Like I have a condition or a series of symptoms that I understand the microbiome is related to. I'm interested in potentially working with you to help solve this. What's the promise? Like, what am I getting at the end of 2 weeks? Like, so I have this issue. Where am I going by 2 weeks time frame?
In 2 weeks, you will have a clarity of what is underlying your problem. You will have a way to approach it completely naturally so that you don't have to shop from doctors to doctors, pills to pills. You will have better digestion, better energy, better mood. That's from the testimonials I have got. Better energy. So you'll have practical tools how to make adjustments in your day-to-day life. And overall, it is not targeting a specific disease, but it's activating your own healing intelligence to target the disease. So we're not promising a complete cure, but we're helping activate your inner intelligence.
I have a pretty decent lay of the land. So today, like in our conversation, like what's the one thing that you're hoping I can help you with this?
I watched that how to run meta ads kind of video. We also talked about running the funnel, and I am incorporating a few things from there, especially optimizing my funnel, because my call to action was going to the webinar, and then after that, I don't know how many were watching it. The webinar was probably like 45, 50 minutes long. How many were really able to feel it? And then also the email sequences were not optimized. So I got clients mainly from the live webinar, none from the evergreen one. So people who knew me, trusted me, are the ones who really joined. Once they did the live webinar. So I'm incorporating that. I also understood that chronic disease is very broad. So I'm targeting towards specific conditions, maybe specific gut issues, specific mood issues, specific food challenges, nutrition, those kind of lifestyle diseases. So I'm running ad copies according to that. So I'm making those changes.
Cool. So in terms of this conversation, like what can I help you with specifically today?
And I also started my call to action with a clarity call rather than just a webinar. So that way people can just book. But now I'm not sure what should be the first step of my funnel if I run ads again. If I book, if I tell a clarity call or a 30-minute free call, that would be kind of a gamble because I don't know how much time I would have for individual people. Whereas a live webinar I can do for multiple.
How long is the clarity call?
I start with 30 minutes, but once I ran it, I realized it should require 40 minutes.
So 40? And then from that clarity call, are you selling directly into the coaching program or is there another call afterwards?
I'm selling directly to the coaching program. Before the clarity call, I encourage them to watch the webinar.
So we have two paths. And when I say Facebook, I mean, it's really meta now, but whatever, it's all the same. So you've done live webinar, you've done evergreen webinar, live webinar produced the best results, which it does because it's live interactive. The only challenge is that it's your time. So this is typically like the second one here that I'm showing is what we call the perfect client pipeline. And then, so the question is like, which one of these two makes the most sense for you to run? Is that kind of where you want a bit of clarity?
Yes. And the target audience, how to find that.
Okay. So the reality is both of them can work. I think both of these, I've seen both of these to work, right? So the reason that the second one is typically what we use with our clients, because they're all like you, they're health professionals, they're busy and so forth, is that the webinar itself, like this thing here, this is the one thing that gives you the most amount of leverage. It protects your time, right? So if you have all the time in the world, then yes, it makes a lot of sense to have more conversations, right? So you can have clarity calls and you understand the trade you're making is you're just giving up a lot of your time to have conversations, right? And that might be a trade you make for a certain amount of time, and there's nothing wrong with that until you get to a point where you're like, I can't keep doing this. So what the webinar does is it protects your calendar, it protects your time, and it acts as a filter so that, you mentioned like how many people get all the way through to the bottom. Well, if you have 100 people here, you might have 10 people at the bottom. And that's okay. That's part of the process is if someone can't sit through a 30, 45, or 60-minute webinar, it tells me they're not interested in actually solving the problem, right? Because those same people will watch a movie at night for 3 hours, right? And so it's like we always will invest our time and money where we have it's a clarification of what's important to us. So the webinar in and of itself adds friction, and the friction is there to ensure that if you have a limited time availability, that we are protecting the calendar and allowing more of the right people to speak with you as opposed to just anyone. Does that make sense as a starting point?
Yes, absolutely.
So what you'll see with the perfect client pipeline is, let's say pound for pound, dollar for dollar, is you might have lower call volume, right? Because they have to jump through some hoops to get to the opportunity to book a call with you. But that also means that you're not speaking with just anyone. Whereas let's call this like the direct to clarity call path, add right to a booking page, right to a calendar. Like you'll get tons of calls, but you'll also have a lot of people that are not as serious, committed. There might be more no-shows. And there's certainly some people in that process who might be obviously qualified. But again, the challenge is that it's taken up more of your calendar time, right? So the fact that you have the webinar kind of like in this little junction, so when someone books a call, they're asked to kind of come to the call prepared ahead of time by watching the webinar is important. Whether or not they do that is a different story. So it's still in there. But again, it's like, how primed are people coming into this call? And do you have any, I guess it's kind of early. Have you run this funnel yet, the Clarity Call one?
I run the clarity call only for the last week actually.
Okay.
So, and I only ran it, I didn't run it through Facebook ads. I only ran it through my existing subscribers.
Sure.
And I had 3 calls so far, which I think people liked.
Yep.
They got value.
And did they enroll or no?
One of them said they will. The other one was actually someone who already enrolled before and they joined the clarity call again. And the third one is also planning to enroll. Yeah.
All right. So we'll just say 0 out of 3 until people pay you. It's all taught, right? So I think from your email list, 100%, you can go to Clarity Call. That makes sense, right? Because they're already kind of like being nurtured.
Yeah.
From cold traffic, it's just something you have to test and see if it makes sense. So again, it's not that there's ever like, this is the only way of doing things, but it's just a matter of understanding like, what's the context? Like if I have all the time in the world and I just want to have as many conversations as possible to learn and get feedback and see who I'm talking to, then yeah, like maybe a Clarity Call is a good start. I might get frustrated by no-shows and cancellations and people that are not serious or don't know what the hell I do, but it could be a good starting point. If you have a little bit less time and you want better qualified, primed, ready to go people, the webinar or the perfect client pipeline process is generally what we'd recommend there. So those are, again, it's not one or the other. I think it's just understanding like which one makes the most sense for you. But based on these two, it's really up to you. And I think what you'll notice is that the cost for a call booked on the pipeline will be more expensive than the Clarity Call version, right? Because people have to jump through more hoops to eventually get there. But you typically get what you pay for in life, right? So if you're getting calls for like $20 with the Clarity Call path, I'm not going to expect miracles on that, right? You might spend 150, 175, $200 on a call booked in the perfect client pipeline path because there's more friction, but generally those people are a little bit more ready because they've had to jump through some hoops. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I like the second option there.
Yeah. And again, like there's nuances. Like the key with this is like anyone can put together a funnel, right? Like anyone can put up a page, create a webinar, but the key is in the nuances. Like there's so many little details. But I want to touch on the meta ads or the Facebook ad stuff. So you mentioned you're currently working with an agency that's running the ads for you? Or are you doing this yourself?
I stopped working with them because they were not familiar with this health space. And also I worked with them 2 months and pretty much I had to do all of the work. I was paying them, but I had to do everything, right? From not only the content, but like design of landing page and all the funnel thing.
So they basically just loaded the ads and pressed the button, like after you gave them all this stuff. Yeah. It's all good.
Also, there was many mistakes. So I have to look through everything.
Yeah. You're not alone. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's been like, that agency was amazing. They're all not the greatest. So it's okay that you've had to experience that. You're not alone in that regards. So with respect to Facebook ads, so when we look at targeting, it's actually really cool nowadays because you may have noticed that Facebook over the last, or Meta as it's now known, over the last couple of years has gotten rid of a lot of very specific interest targeting. So years ago, you could target dot draws, right? You could target very specific interests, and that started to go away, and people started to freak out. They're like, oh my God, I can't find my people on Meta. And it's like, well, actually, you still can, but the key is that the creative is your targeting. So what I mean by that is, so when I say creative, it's a combination of the words and the image or the video that you're using, right? So if this is, let's just put this as a video, whatever. So this is an ad, right? Like a post on Facebook. The first couple sentences here are very, very important because if someone's on mobile, they're only going to see, if you think of how you scroll through your feed, like you're only going to see the first 2 sentences typically. And then the same thing is going to go for the visual. So the visual is very, very important. It takes up most of the real estate on whether it's desktop or mobile. So if it's an image or a video, like what is going to stop the scroll? If it's a video, in the first 3 seconds, the person has to know this is for them, right? So the key with respect to targeting is the messaging, the creative, the messaging and or the image or video are what is going to determine who this is shown to.
I worked on that using your ad grader.
Cool. Yeah. And so Like if you look at like it, so who like if you're putting like just like one sentence, like if you were to write one sentence, what would that sentence sound like, or what would be written in that sentence so that the person scrolling through their feed is gonna be like, oh, this is for me. Like, do you have an idea of like what's an example you've already run from one of your ads or one of the ads you've written?
Yeah, so I just pulled up one. So my first sentence is 3 myths keeping you sick, stuck, and exhausted, and what your microbiome wants to know. That's kind of more based on general health.
Yeah.
And then I have, do you feel everything's going right, but your body still isn't responding? 3 common myths that science is beginning to unravel about the microbiome. And this is again about chronic diseases.
Yeah.
And then I have one specific about mental health and food. If you're struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD, depression, 3 myths that completely change how you understand mental health. And for food, I have still bloated, tired, craving foods or gaining weight, even though you're eating healthy, you're not alone.
Yep.
Something like that.
And the 3 things are disclosed in the webinar or in the ad itself?
In the ad itself.
Okay. And then what's the premise of the webinar? So okay, there's the 3 myths or mistakes, like cool. And then why should I click on the link to go to the webinar? Like, what am I going to learn in this webinar? Like, what's unique about it?
So for example, one of the myth about food is like, you're seeing the label, you're eating something right, and you think that you're getting nutrition from that food, but that's wrong. The nutrition depends on what your microbiome power of extracting nutrients from the food is. You might eat the best food, but you might create inflammation if your microbiome power is weak.
So I learned that in the ad?
That's in the ad.
Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then there's a link to click to the webinar. What is the
Strengthen your microbiome.
Okay, so the webinar is like how to strengthen your microbiome so you can actually extract nutrients and blah, 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 blah.
And going much broader, because it's also about strengthening microbiome to help awaken your immune system, your intelligence for healing.
Sure. So, okay, so the hooks that you gave me are interesting. I think my first thought is they're very like educational, right? So it's like, oh, that's interesting to know about. And then the webinar would have to do a very good job at like converting curious into commitment. The other approach you can take with the ads themselves is, and this might come with a little bit more data, is like you identify the top avatars that you work with, the top conditions, right? 1, 2, or 3 of them. And let's just say that it's like whatever, IBS, right? The ad itself calls it IBS, right? So a lot of IBS sufferers think that X, but the reality is Y. And so now we're speaking directly to people with IBS. And so because your target market, like there's a couple ways to skin this cat with target market. One is the condition itself, right? So you can become, as an example, an IBS specialist, right? That's one example of a target market. In your case, the specialty is kind of the mechanism in which you help people. So the microbiome kind of approach. So it's a catch-all for a lot of different conditions, which is totally fine. The only thing that creates is a little bit more complexity on the front end, because the front end, it gives you complexity and opportunity. So you have opportunity to have way more different ad angles, IBS, anxiety, skin issues, like whatever the things are you see, and each one of those can become a different, first 1 or 2 sentences of an ad, and you can see what what is attracted based on that stuff. And over time, let's say it's 10 conditions or 10 symptoms you talk about, maybe you notice over time that there's like 3 that really like do most of the heavy lifting. You can zero in on that, right? So the target market is less about a specific condition, but it's more of like a set of conditions that are solved by this one type of solution, right? But I think the ads will generally perform better if the person reading it is like, that I have that, like this is for me. And that's why I think there's an opportunity for each of those ads to consider having different angles based on the condition or the symptoms.
But wouldn't Meta kind of flag it if it's a particular specific disease and claim? That's where I struggle most.
Yeah, not really. It depends on how it's worded, right? So we're not going to say things like cure IBS, right? Like we're not going to make like ridiculous claims, but you can certainly still use words, terminology in the health community, if you will. So it could be shared as, my client Sally had IBS for years and nothing works, and told ... right? That's a super clean way of doing things. You can just call out, I wouldn't say like, Are you still struggling with, like, is your IBS holding you back from living life? Like, that's, you're implying you know something about the end user, which is not okay on Facebook. So instead of like your condition, it's like many IBS sufferers or many men and women with, or many women with IBS have tried all sorts of magic pills, potions, and powders and still remain stuck. So now we're just stating something. We're not saying like your problem. We're just saying a problem. And then if the person reading that happens to have IBS, we're like, well, that's kind of me, right? There's very simple ways of navigating that. But just understand, like, all of our clients are dealing with every condition you can think of, right? And they use typically the names of the conditions in their copy. As long as it's not pointing the finger at the user saying like your belly fat or your IBS or your migraines. Does that make sense?
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah. So very much like in the creative, like the sort of first 1 to 2 sentences, if we're talking to, like, again, I'll just use IBS as an example. If we had a video, the same thing is going to be spoken on the video, right? So it's like the first couple seconds that come out of our mouth is specifically for IBS sufferers, so they know exactly that this is for them. And then you just have variations of those videos based on the different conditions or symptoms, okay? So that is how, especially nowadays, how Meta is going to show your ads to different people. Because where we are now, Meta is wanting everyone to go broad with their targeting. And it's saying, hey, just give us the ads and the images or the videos. And based on your creative, like the words or the visuals, we'll show it to the right people, right? And that's how targeting works. And then based on where people come in, and let's say they opt in, now Meta's going to say, okay, that's a lead, or this is a call booked. It's going to feed it back into the system, and it's going to go find more people like that. And so more than ever before, I mean, it's always been the creative that's been the key with any kind of advertising, but definitely now more than ever before, because even if you think of like the ad that you wrote, so the ad, and again, like, all you have to do with this stuff is test to see what's going to make the most sense. But we also want to be careful when we're putting out ads that maybe feel a little bit more like educational, like, hey, like, learn this thing. It can also appeal to people who are, just kind of curious, as opposed to someone in a state that actually wants to solve something. And if you are feeding back a signal to Meta, which is just lots of leads who don't want to do anything, you'll get more of those types of people, right? So that's why the messaging on the front end is super important, to be like, hey, listen, if you're sick and tired of this and you want to solve this once and for all, like, this is where it starts. If you like what you see, you can book a call, to talk about next steps. And so using targeting or messaging like that can be a lot more effective nowadays. So you're getting people who actually want to do something as opposed to just, window shopping.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So just as we kind of wrap up here, are you clear on, like, what are you getting? What's the kind of the 1 or 2 takeaways you're getting from our conversation here for you to take next steps on?
No, mainly about the how to design the creative of the ad, and then the sequence of the funnel, optimizing the content of the ad. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I'm working on based on your video.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that.
And if you like this kind of stuff, be sure to watch the next video where I'll walk you through our $1 million health coaching roadmap. If you're a health expert, coach, or therapist who wants to grow a $1 million plus business without the grind or guesswork, you're going to want to check that out. We have a free scorecard where you can audit your business, and then I'll show you exactly how to fill the gaps to improve your score and thus the impact you're creating, the money you're making, and the freedom you're living with.